Welcome to Dee's Room. In this video will be the video of Getting to Know Me. Who am I? What am I? These are the questions. Way back in 1970, February of 1970, somewhere in a hospital in Virginia, I was born. For about a year, I lived in Virginia. Me pappy, at the time, was in the Navy. So then we moved from Virginia to Dayton, Ohio. I stayed there for about, let's see here, that would have been about six and a half years in Dayton, Ohio. And then we moved all the way to where I am now, sunny San Diego. We did about 1 year up in an area in the county of San Diego called Mira Mesa, and that's where it started. My comic book addiction. So up there, on one Christmas morning, I received 5 comic books. I don't have them here. I'll show them down later. They're all hidden in there. They're not the original ones, unfortunately, but I beat the hell out of those. I got 3 Power Man comic books, a Marvel 2-in-1. Was it 2-in-1? Yeah, 2-in-1. Spider-Man teaming up with the Scarlet Witch with a little help from the Vision, and an Amazing Spider-Man 161 or 162. He's hooked up with the Nightcrawler with a little show up with the Punisher, and those are my books. Now, I didn't know for a while that the books I got, I couldn't remember. But back in those days, or still probably nowadays too, people send letters during Christmas to family members who are away to let them know how they've been doing that whole year. Well, my family did it on video cassette tapes. Not video cassette tapes, but audio cassette tapes, sorry. And a while ago, maybe 5-10 years ago, I was going through some old cassette tapes and came across this one. And I was listening to it, and I heard my mom telling my grandparents that they would, the biggest gift that Darren got were these 5 comic books. And they were like, this was a last minute purchase. They just happened to go to the commissary and figured, oh, we need to get one more little thing for Darren. They came across the comic book spinner rack and just picked out 5 books and gave them to me and said, this will work. And it did. They said, I got a kick out of them. And then that 1 year up in Mira Mesa, down the street, was the local 7-Eleven. See, now, with my dad in the Navy, you had to spend time on a ship, sometimes 3 to 6 months out to sea. Mom had to take care of us, me and my sister. So once in a while, she'd take us down to the 7-Eleven to get Slurpees. And my first Slurpee cup was Luke Cage Power Man. Now, at that time, I wasn't into the collecting. But I would go back and get the Slurpee cups. And I just loved the Marvel stuff, because it was just in your face. Bah! If you look up Slurpee cups from back then, comparing Marvel to DC, yeah, Marvel really wanted your attention. So it was boom, 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 boom. And then we moved from Mira Mesa to Pacific Beach, where there were some military homes, and I spent from 1978 to late 1988 in that one house. And that's when it started. Now, I was a pack rat. I'd wander the streets and I would find bottle caps, put them in jars, and then take them out and hammer them out, put them on little nails and put them on sticks and have all sorts of bottle caps. And then the times when we'd go to the swap meet, I'd had a couple bucks, and there was one place I hit as much as I possibly could. This lady had a bunch of sports cards, football, baseball, basketball, and it was a penny a card. See, now that's where my spend as little as you can and get as much as you can. That's where my addiction kicked in. I just bought in bulk. Here's $2, and I came home with 200 cards, and it could have ranged. I even ended up getting some Kiss cards. Oh, the Kiss cards! I don't have it here, but I do have the farm. It was a Playco farm or something like that. You'd open the doors, you could hear the moo sound. I had that full of the Kiss cards. Again, still not into the collecting mode of keeping things intact and stuff. Then, of course, the Star Wars figures. I got a bunch of those. And the comic books kicked in as where my mom would take me to the local barbershop. Don't have to worry about that much anymore. I shave my own little bits of hair that I have. But if I was a good boy at the barbershop, right next door was a used bookstore. We called it the Old Lady Bookstore because it was run by an old lady. And hidden in the little corner, she had 2 small boxes of comic books. And they were half off whatever the cover price of the comic books. So if it was 60 cents, and I paid 30 cents. So forth and so forth. Now, of course, she didn't have any of the 10 cent, 12 cent comics in there. She knew what she had, so those stuff were hidden away and dealt with in a different way. But these were for the kids my age. Because at the barbershop, while I'm waiting to get my hair cut, I'd read the comics. And then I'd go over there. And my first comic book that I know I bought there, with my first intention of buying a comic, was the Incredible Hulk 272. And it was based on cover alone. Had the Hulk. Right behind the Hulk was the Wendigo. Right behind the Wendigo was Sasquatch. Oh, that's my book, Hulk 272. In this pile of stuff, there's at least 13 to 15 copies, some graded, some not. That's the book I buy pretty much any time I get my hands on it. Now, of course, unfortunately, since that frickin' raccoon went and became a popular character, it's gone up from a typical $1 or $2 to almost $10 sometimes, because this is a frickin' cameo appearance of him in it. Now the 271, of course, that was $1, 50 cent, 25 cent comic for all the time until he frickin' got popular. But oh well, that's the fun about comics. 1 minute it's a 25 cent comic. Down the road, all of a sudden it's $100 comic. That's part of the fun. So now, also across the street in the neighborhood, there was a local kid I hung out with named Bill. He had a stack of comics, and we would spend the night. And there's a couple in there that I read all the time. Defenders, I want to say 1819 or 1718. The one when the Defenders went up against the Wrecking Crew. Oh, whenever I knew I was going over there and we were reading comics, I just read and read those over. That's, I'm into the big guys just, smacking it. When I started collecting, the main thing I constantly looked for was the Hulk versus the Thing. Those were it. Those were my books. But the Hulk became my big main character. 272. And then, at one point in time, the old lady at the old lady bookstore kind of figured that we were doing this. It's like, you know what? There's an actual comic book store just down the neighborhood on a street called Cass. And I'm like, what? And my poor mom, I love her to death. She put up with me. Now, when I say put up, and then I'll explain it. It wasn't like I was a bad kid or anything, but she just was so sweet. So she took me down to this comic book store called Comic Gallery. I entered the world of comic books. This was heaven. Rows and rows of back issues. I had to be 9 or so. And it was just like, my sweet mom gave me my budget, $5, $10, whatever, and I spent what seemed like days going through making sure I got the right one. I was into Thor, Thing, Hulk, of course, Submariner, any of the big guys that just, bang heads, broad, and that's why I really went into the Hulk, because most of the time he had the Juggernaut, Abomination, the Absorbing Man, the Missing Link. His characters were big brawling guys. The UFOs, all that stuff. And that's when I just started doing the building my collection from 272 on up and then on down as best as I could, picking up 2 or 3 here and there. And then, as the years went on, and I got older, and I got that thing called a job, and then I got those things called wheels, and I got a little more freedom. My budget, of course, grew, and I had no bills at the time. So that's all money. And I didn't have to pay rent because I was still living at home. I was just in high school. All that was my money, 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 money. And Mom and Dad, save your money, Darren. Da, da, da. Yes, Mom. Yes, Dad. Comic Gallery had moved from Pacific Beach up to a place in Claremont. And then that's when it, one of my good friends also, Glenn, we got into this again. Now, when Glenn gets into a hobby, he gets into it 100%. He just reads up on it, studies it, figures out all the angles and stuff. Me, give me. So then I discovered about the new issues and how you can get a subscription, a pull box, as we call it. So then I sat there and I did that, and I did the pull boxes, and we'd go. Now it's Wednesdays. At one point in time, I think it was Thursdays. We went on Thursdays and got the new stuff, and then I would pick up some other stuff here and there. And then my dad got out of the Navy in late '88. We spent a little time up in Claremont, and then we moved down to Mission Valley. So I went from the Comic Gallery up in Claremont. We found this other comic store, and I hung out there, and that's when I got introduced to the Valiant. And I got in on the ground level. I picked up the Harbinger #1s, and I asked the guy there, Shane, what's a good, non-Marvel, non-DC book that I should be, you recommend for me to read? And he showed me the Valiant. It said Harbinger and all this stuff, so I picked up those early. And so started collecting those. And then, like I said, we moved to Mission Valley. And also around this time, Glenn and I, this is, early, started doing some of the local Comic Cons. And this is before they got really stickler on the rules and stuff. People like me who didn't have a shop could get a table. So him and I, we got a table, and when I sell stuff, I ain't looking for high end. Now, yeah, I did put my Harbinger #1 out there for $90, and a kid, maybe 11 years old, came up. Mom dropped the $90 in a check. Unfortunately, like 2 weeks later, it went from $90. Now it's back up to, I don't know, $30, $40. But I guess I guess that's just part of the deal. We got the trading cards, the whole deal. And then I ended up, one day when we were in Mission Valley, I got onto this one road and just went driving. Gas was cheap at the time. I ended up in this Mission Gorge area, which is just down the, maybe 5, 7 minutes east from Mission Valley. And I found this up and coming store called Comic City. And then I found home. Because we were actually looking for local video stores. This was before Blockbusters was everywhere. And there was a video store there, and I went down there, and I just happened to look around at the other shops, and I found this comic book store, Comic City. And that was it. Got a pull box there, and he was just starting up, so I was on the ground level. He showed me this thing called a preview, and I got my first full statue of the Punisher. It's over in there, holding the guns. I got that on a layaway. He let me pay it off and stuff. Because again, I hadn't gotten any major bills. Still living at home. So, making all this money. Everything was cheap, gas and stuff. So that preview, I would come in, order stuff, and the Marvel, DC, I had all that. And then I would hunt for the independent stuff. The odd things, whatever just caught my attention. Write it up, give it to them. And then I started doing the Bowman, the bust, all those. I got into those and the trading cards, and then he got in, the anime stuff. I was like, oh, these musical anime CDs. I picked up my first Cowboy Bebop, the Blue album. If you don't have that one, freaking awesome. I mean, the music from Cowboy Bebop, you're thinking it's going to be one style all the way, but it is just all over the place. And it is that Blue album is sweet. Other ones are good, but for me, the Blue album, it's like, to me, when you talk Metallica, for me, it's Ride the Lightning. I don't know how many times I've had to buy that album on CD, because I've scratched it up, tossing it around. I just worn it out. I've got it on record now. I had it on cassette, but I'd wear those out. So, yeah, you got to try out the Cowboy Bebop Blue album. That's a good one. And I just, what was it, about 10 years there. He ended up, the main guy, I can't remember his name, ended up selling it. And then the prices started getting up. Then I started getting bills. I haven't had to pay rent in my life so far. Well, technically I'm paying rent right now, but it's part of my paycheck and stuff. It's the place I live. Is the place I work. I'm a manager of the security department here at this campground in San Diego. So technically I'm paying rent, but yeah, I'm not. But I didn't, of course, discover these things called credit cards, and got a credit card debt, and I'm paying off still here and there. And then, of course, comic books, everything went up, gas went up, movies went, back in the days, I would go see, on a day off, I could see 2 or 3 movies because they were like $5 a pop. I didn't care if they were great or not. Back in those days, there were 8 different kind of theaters I could have gone to. There was the huge big one that only had the one screen that sat like 1,000 people. Saw the Lion King on that. Oh my God, that was huge. And then there was a bunch of little ones that had 10, 15, some had 20 theaters. I'd go in and see one and go have something to eat and come back and see another. Then late at night, it's, 10 o'clock at night, you're sitting around and, what do you want to do? Let's go see a movie for $5. We didn't care. Nowadays, you gotta really, is it gonna be that good? I don't see comedies and stuff like that in the theaters anymore. It's gotta be really worth, my 10 to 15 bucks, sometimes more. Actually, there's some theaters are going down a little bit. As long as you do, make sure you go with the old seats. None of these lay-back seats that knock you out before the movie even starts. But back to how, and then now, parents still live in Mission Valley. I'm now back living in PB. I don't have a pull list anymore because the books are now $4 a pop. Number ones are $5 a pop. You know, I remember when you'd go in, $20, you came out with 20 books. They were 75 cents to a buck, and then buck 25, buck 50, and by the time they got close to $3, I was like, ah. But those are the good times. I mean, the kind of collector I am, if my books, I buy them and they ended up making, all of a sudden went worth money, great. For a while there, before the eBay and all this other stuff, oh, I did it with them. And the only way I knew how to get rid of them, if I wasn't doing a garage sale, when I sold in garage sales and stuff, I sold just to get rid of. I local comic store, I'd buy a book on one Wednesday. Following Wednesday, I may see that one book, for whatever reason, up on the wall. Let's example, Moon Knight, Splat. When when Image kicked in and all these things that came out, he came out for Marvel in the last few issues of a Moon Knight run before he got brought over to Image. He did like 6 covers in the book, inside books of Moon Knight, and they were hot potatoes. They still are, because they're a little print run. But I got them, read them, enjoyed them, saw that my store was selling them for like 30, $40, and I would take them in to get store credit. And I'm like, okay. So I bought it for $1.75. He paid me maybe $20 store credit or whatever. And I went and got something else. And now I'm a hoarder. Like I said, I'm a hoarder. Pack rack. So, of course, over time I discovered bags and boards, the different types of bags and boards, all that stuff. And, of course, I'm still in the hobby. I still hit my local comic stores. And then I'll even go out of the way, 30, 40 minutes down to some other local stores once in a while. My main store is Southern California Comics, because they've got dollar comics to over $1,000 comics, whatever you're looking for in that store. There's another store called Yesteryear I go to hit once in a while too, because he deals with mostly, he has a few back issues, but he's mostly the modern stuff. And he's got some pops. I like pops. And I get into all that stuff, with the toys, the trading cards. I remember when the 90s and the trading cards came out, I had a ton of them. But that's the kind of collector, and that's who I am. I like them. Conditions, sure, great. If I get lucky and get something great, fine. Now my Hulks, I'll keep those. Of course, 1 through 6 are my main goal. I do have number 6. Bought that a year ago for about $250. Those, if I get lucky and get it, great. Now, of course, my fun thing is at work and on eBay, there was a set of all 6, signed by Stan Lee, graded at some grade. I want to say they were asking $30,000 plus, and I was trying to get the folks at work to help me out. No one seemed to bite that one. Oh well, can dream. Like some folks say, you can't have it all. And that's the fun part. You can't have it all, but it's out there. You can have fun going after it and stuff. And then you go down here on YouTube and you find all these folks that collect in different ways. After Comics, AFTA Comics. If you haven't checked out his site, check it out. He's got a beautiful set of comics. Then he's got the other stuff, the T-shirts, the trading cards. He's got them in boxes. It's a museum style, and he's totally opposite for me. I mean, I've got some of that stuff, but I'm not museum style, and that's beautiful. I love watching his channel. I love going there and looking at what he's got, and going, oh, I love to have that. I got this. Found this book for $25 at Southern California when in the blood drive. And I'm going to start looking through here and find out some Hulk toys that I don't have and get on the eBay and try to hunt them down. And that's the fun. Of course, the art got my attention. And then you can, if you sit and think about yourself and how you collected and stuff, for me, it was the image on the cover the big stuff like that, the Hulk, the fights. And then as I got older, I started my, wanting more out of it. So you start discovering that even though I just read 272, for the art, there's more to it with the words, and then you discover how the comic books are put together with the angles and all that stuff, and that's all, you don't see how it's written out, but all that's written out, and you start to enjoy it a certain way, a certain writer and artist work together to get certain angles and all that stuff. I mean, I was around collecting comics when Dark Knight came out, Watchmen, but I didn't get into them at the time. But as I got older and read about them, and then I read them, it's like, what was I doing? I was in a different mindset at the time those books came out. So then I got the trade paperbacks, and that's what's wonderful about comics. It's just like records. There is so much out there that you can have a million doors in front of you of comic book covers. Just like Jack Skellington when he found the doors to the holidays. And then choose a door to go through. And you can spend time in that door. And if you don't enjoy it, then you come out and go into another door. The Hulk door for me is constantly open because I love that. Still working on, completing the set. I was blessed. A friend of mine named Steve blessed me with this huge pile of comics. Unfortunately, it came in the way, of course, of one of his brothers passing away. He, gifted me with this wonderful gift of a stack of older Hulk comics. So I'm blessed by my friend Steve in giving me that. So, and then that's from my friend Steve and other friends. This is why I do some of the things where I just do random gifts and give things. Like when I'm doing a garage sale and a little kid comes up and I've got something that's priced $2 or $3, and that individual, whatever, boy or girl, shows an interest in it but doesn't have enough money, I work with them. If all they got is 50 cents, and no, it's not going to be my Hulk 181 or whatever, but I want to make sure the next generation that's coming up has some of the same experience I did. Sure, give me the 50 cents. It's a $2 comic. Go ahead, enjoy yourself. Whatever, it's not, like I said, the garage sale, I'm the blowing the stuff out. I'm not there trying to make a killing. Sure, I may have some things that are $10 to $15, and I may want that. Sure. But, I'm here to blow stuff out. I mean, I got a limited amount of space. And if I sell something, like one time I had to pay a big bill of like $800 or so. And I sold most of my comic book collection, except for my Hulk. Well, then it just means I had to rebuild it back up. Yeah, it's a little rough at the time. But once the deal was done, I made my money, paid my bill. Now I had something to do, and picked up, went back and decided, well, what did I really like out of what I sold? I went back and hunted down my Defenders and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, let's rebuild. And then on top of it, there's always the new stuff coming in. So that's me. That's D. I'm Darren, and this is D's room. And that's kind of a little bit about who I am and what kind of a collector I am. I'm a hoarder. I'm not really into making sure everything's high top grade. But I love high top grade collectors. I love watching their videos. I love it when, sometimes they have museum displays of all this stuff and I can go take a look at them. I love when I go to the Comic-Con and just enjoy looking at the Golden Age stuff and all the history of comics. And all that is just a wonderful thing to where we are now. That the fact that we're not running around in caves trying to have to hunt for food every single day, that we've gotten ourselves as a position to where we can sit back and let our minds wander. And those who have talents with their hands and stuff. Now I doodle. I say I can draw, I can doodle. And when you're doing this, this is art to the point where this individual, they sat down, they gave thought on everything, where certain things are supposed to be. You try to get me to do that, and I go bonkers. Now you just give me a pencil and some paper, I can doodle something up, kind of goofy, more cartoonish than anything else. But to do something like this, wonderful stuff. And you can, again, it's $1 to whatever you can afford that you can keep yourself in. Don't get yourself in too much debt or any debt, really. It'd be the wisest decision if you learn anything from me. But I've got the graded comics. I've got one big piece of original art, J. Lee, Captain America comic, 2-page thing that's in my office. Maybe one day I'll bring it home. I spent 1 year at the Comic Con. I think for that it was just like $500 for the 2 pages, and I couldn't pass that up. J. Lee, Captain America. I'll bring that home sometime and show that. I couldn't pass that up. But this is a wonderful hobby. There's all sorts of avenues and back roads you can go. There's everything. And then if you just stick with the books, you're great. And then you can get lost in the world of the other parts of it. The movies, the toys, the trading cards, the video games, all that stuff. Well, hopefully I've provided you some information about me. So thank you for your time. This is a long video. If you stayed to the very end, thank you very much. If you picked up here and there, again, this is like a book. You don't have to watch it and read through the whole thing. You can watch 5 minutes, come back later, watch a few more, come back later. That's what's so good about this YouTube stuff too. It's all I'm going to probably go right now after this and watch a bunch of stuff. Who knows, some random stuff. I'll check out my main channels. See if anything new has come up. At this time it's maybe 12:30 in the morning or a.m. So I think it's Friday. Now it's Saturday. I think I've caught up with everybody. Bueller, Comic Tom, all that stuff, and then I'll just randomly just check things out. I've discovered how much hours I put onto YouTube, and then after that I'll probably go to Netflix, catch an episode of the new Punisher. Season 2, and then maybe spend some time in Skyrim. Then go to sleepy. Of course, I'll read some comic books before, because right next to the bed I have my little night table that I set up comic books on, and I read a few comic books before I go to bed. Gotta keep up on it. Thanks for stopping by Dee's Room. And have a good morning, good afternoon, or good night, whatever time you stop by. Bye-bye now.